idea what I was in for when I went online and started researching retreats. I was hosting retreats and they were always losing me money every single time, bar none. Always a loss, but they were tons of fun, but they were always a loss. And I wanted to figure out how could I deliver the content that I felt called to deliver without also losing money in the process. I mean, it has to be a better way. And so I was looking online. I found Darla's book, Retreat and Grow Rich. I read it. I started following her for a while. I ended up in one of her programs and then another and another. And here we are many years later. And I am happy to say that that was the happiest accident. So talk about unbreakable, right? When something happens that goes not exactly the way that you would have liked. I did not like that I was losing money on retreat after retreat. But what that did was that pointed me in the direction of a whole new community of entrepreneurs who are transformation focused, who want to include source in their business model so that they can share their message with the world in a much better way. And so this thing that appeared like it was an adversity actually had a happy ending for me in that I had the opportunity to meet Darla and become a part of her community. And I am so excited that this woman has become such a good friend of mine and that I have the opportunity to share her beauty and her light with you today. Everybody, please welcome Darla Ledoux.
Thank you, Divya. Can you hear me okay? Okay, amazing. Looks like my camera just did something. I am so excited to be here with you. I recently was in person live with Divya. So she has been a client of ours. She is a certified source leader, which I may talk about. But most recently, Divya has been a mentor for some of our clients who have been going through our certified source leader program. And so we were just together live and she was there mentoring, cheering for people. Yeah, Lisa was one of the people who moved through the program. Lori is another mentor, and Wendy. But we were just together live where I got a chance to really get re-inspired by Divya's mission and her story in this work of really having women uplift other women. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about magic, and I'll tell you what I mean by that, and specifically how and when to use it in your business, how you might use it to work less, earn more. So many of us are conditioned to work harder to make more money, to spend more time, to do more things. And so I'm just going to introduce an idea that might have us lean back a little, work less hard, and be more in our magic, be more potent in the time that we're showing up. So that's my goal for today. A little bit about you. About me. I'm the founder of Sourced, where we help coaches, consultants, creatives, and healers to offer and deliver deep transformational work with their magical gifts. So I've heard Divya use the word transformation a few times. Raise your hand if you feel like part of what you do is transformational. Even if you do practical things, it's like, yeah, so you know you're bringing some magic forward. So I want to share a little bit of my own journey to owning my magic. But first, I want to ask you two questions just to write down and anchor this in so it's most useful for you. The first is, what do you feel like you're actually selling in your business? And just take a minute and write that down. I'm going to back up here because I think my camera went crazy. I'm going to write on the board. What are you actually selling in your business? Summits, retreats, okay. Change, peace of mind. Beautiful, Jen. I love that. And then the second question is, If there was something we could solve in your business through owning your magic here today, what would you most want to solve? So if you could work lighter, more potently, and really offer what's unique about you, what would you solve in your business? Maybe it's like more free time. Maybe it's a specific offer you're trying to sort out. Something about your ideal client. What would you want to solve? And then I'd love to hear a couple more in the chat. So Laura, I hear you're selling confidence. Naomi is offering awareness. Beautiful. Deep, lasting fulfillment with ease, Ro. Beautiful. Beautiful. So we already are really aware that we're offering more than just a program or more than just our time. So I want to share a little bit about my own journey to uncovering my own magic and working with greater ease. So since I started my business, I've always felt like I'm a transformational coach. My own life was changed in a transformational retreat. I am a recovering engineer. So my original career was as an engineer. I worked at a company called Procter & Gamble. I was trained as a coach while I was there, and I fell in love with it, but I didn't think I could do it for real life. So I got instead a career that I thought would be somewhat close to that, and I became a high school teacher. Anyone here been a teacher? I'm curious about that. There's always a couple. Okay, amazing. So I wasn't a really great teacher, but I learned a lot. But the biggest thing that happened for me was I got to my career as a teacher completely different than my career as an engineer. And I found myself kind of having the same complaints. And I thought, I think this might be me. And that really sent me on this inner work journey where I went on retreat and I got to see I got to see what was hidden from my view about how I was showing up to my work, no matter what my work was, that was getting in the way. And seeing this truth, there was this element of like, well, I know how to do it best. And if you want to do it right, you have to do it yourself. Does anybody have that? Yeah, and I got to really see that. And I got to see through this experiential activity we did, how that was affecting me. And so when I went back to work, I started to explore, well, what if other people actually knew things? What if other people could do it better? What if my students knew things? What if my colleagues knew things? And it opened up this whole new world for me. So I was a fanatic for transformation. And then I started my business, knowing that was what I really wanted to do, but thinking that I had to do something else. Has anybody ever been there? So I hosted my first retreat, knowing I wanted to help people see what they hadn't seen about themselves, but thinking that that wasn't enough. And so I made 182 PowerPoint slides, a big old workbook with lots of, places that you could print out or write, fill in the blanks and all of that, in order to justify the value of what I was bringing so that I could do the work I really wanted to do. Over time, I've hosted now close to 100 retreats. If we add in virtual, I'm probably at 100. I need to go count again. But over time, I started to have less and less content and more what I now call magic, more and more presence. But for a long time, I really didn't trust that that was enough. I found over time that the transformation was what people were really craving. The information we can Google, right? But the transformation was what people were really craving. And so every time I would my ego would get really oh my gosh, I need more content. And then I'd get to retreat and it would be like, okay, that content is actually in the way. And I need to let go of my attachment to look smart and bringing the thing. And I need to actually just show up and be present in the room with what people need. And then I would do it again and do it again. Does anybody relate to this? Has anybody felt like, okay, I have to prove myself, I have to look smart? Yeah. So what would it be like for you to focus on the things that are most transformational? Now, this isn't for everybody. Okay, it's perfectly valid to have an information business. It's perfectly valid to have a done for you business where you're working on something for your client and that's the agreement. However, I find that a lot of the people that I connect with, and I'm assuming that Davia connects with, because I know a lot of you, are secretly magical. And so if you're secretly magical, but you're trying to offer the practical stuff, your magic is still showing and it creates this kind of disconnect. People want your magic from you. They want your presence. They want your ability to help them see truth. But if we're all pretending like we're buying the practical thing, right, we don't have enough time and space for that. So I want to distinguish what we mean by magic here at Sourced. Magic, we call it your sourced magic. Magic here at Sourced is your inner knowing put to work toward transformation, in service of transformation. So over here, our mantra is your inner knowing made valid, valued, and visible. That's what we're really about at the core of our work, is releasing anything in the way of you connecting in to know what you know, what you know. And when you're in the energy of knowing what you know, that energy translates to your clients and you create this energetic space between you of truth. So we believe your inner knowing comes from source or a divine connection. You can think of that however you would like. And that when we are really present to truth, it's palpable. It's palpable in the space. Your clients will get in your energy and they'll start to have insights that they didn't have when they weren't around you. Who's already seen this happen? Yeah, great, great. So why this is so important is the source of transformation is seeing truth. And I often go like this. There's something hidden from your view, right? And once you can see it, it's no longer running you. You can work with it, you can honor it, you can love it, and you can transform it. When it's back here and we can't see it, right? It's still there. This energy, this whatever happened when we were 6 is still there running the show, but we can't see it. So the key to transformation is really being able to receive truth. So I want to share this. This is, I went and grabbed my book since so many of you are authors. My book is called Shift the Field, my most recent one. And in it, I teach what's called the anatomy of a transformation. This is how I abbreviate transformation because it's the world's longest word.
That's true.
So the way transformation works, this is how I teach it, just to help you have a framework for when your client comes to you, how to think about how they move through the process. So there's 3 stages to the anatomy. The first is commitment. The second is what I call the sourced experience, and we'll dive into that. And the third is integration. Commitment means this person genuinely has something that they desire. They have an outcome that they want that's greater than their fear of seeing the truth. So their desire or their discomfort with where they are is more important for them to close that gap than it is for them to keep this back here, right? Because we keep this back here for a reason, right? I didn't really like seeing that I had this belief that I knew better than everybody how to get work done. And therefore I was working really hard and totally disempowering everybody around me. I didn't really like seeing that, right? That was a truth that once I could see it, I could actually work with it because it came from somewhere. The second stage is the sourced experience. This is where where the transformation really happens. And the reason I'm sharing that, there's 3 stages to where the transformation happens: release, receive, rise. Release, receive, rise. We have to release our perception of control and admit that maybe there's some other way that could work. Receive truth, right? Go like this, like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that that was there for me. I didn't realize that a younger version of myself decided to operate this way. And then rise is rising up in the new energy. And it sounds like you guys talked about this a bit yesterday. And I know Wendy mentioned having her word expansion, right? So that would be a rise energy. So I want to focus here on receiving. This is receiving truth. And by the way, this last stage, integration, a lot of people miss that. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but this is when you have the new energy. It's like going back into your life and actually doing it. Divya mentioned that earlier, how so often people, come to an event and get a lot of insight and then they go home and don't do anything with it, right? That's where integration support comes in. But I want to come back here to this place of receiving truth, because this is where your magic is. This is where your magic is. So remember, your magic is your inner knowing put to work toward transformation. So you're magical. You offer whatever you offer. Your clients come to you and they want, I'm looking at Elizabeth, they want to write a book. Well, they want to write a book, but Elizabeth's magical. And so part of her magic is helping them to see whatever belief or energy pattern would be in the way of them actually writing their book and expressing themselves fully. I know for me, when I wrote my first book, I was really worried what my family would think if they read it, for example. So I had to work through that with my book coach to be able to actually put the story in writing and move forward. So I know the way Elizabeth works, she's really helping people to see what is this thing that would have you not finish your book or have you not quite write the book as potently as you would like. So when a client is committed and they show up and they go, okay, Elizabeth knows something I don't know about how to create a product, because I've obviously, I don't know, I'm sure you see this, Elizabeth, but I tried writing a book like 6 times before I finally hired a coach, right? So it's like, okay, I'm going to release the idea that I know best. I'm going to trust someone else to help me see what I haven't seen about this. And this is where the magic comes in. This is where your inner knowing as a service provider can really serve your client to help them see what they haven't seen about why they haven't been getting the result. How you, as the leader, receive that truth, that's your magic. That's your sourced magic. So in this framework I've developed called the sourced magic, there's 6 types of magic. And we have a quiz where you can, answer 8 questions and get a little report about your magic. Divya, I think you have that link, right? I don't know if you want me to pop it in the chat. So don't do this now, but you can grab this if you want to, go take the quiz and find your magic. I know Divya has shared this before. There are 6 types of magic. And when you really know and you can empower yours, this becomes really, really easy. It becomes easy and natural, and you don't have to work so hard. So I want to share a couple stories about how this has worked for me, and then we'll open it up for some sharing, what's coming up for you. I told you I've led almost 100 retreats. And early on, I had 182 PowerPoint slides, and I tried to slip my magic in the back door. And I didn't leave a lot of space. I didn't leave a lot of space for what was coming up. Eventually, I started leaving more space, feeling the room, feeling my own self as I was connecting to the energy of the room. And one day, I'm on retreat. It was just after lunch, and we came back from lunch, and I had eaten. I felt fine. I felt great. I walked in the room, and all of a sudden, my stomach was hurting. And I'm thinking, I don't think, like, where did that come from? Just out of nowhere. I don't think that's mine. Now, I led enough retreats to kind of know I could feel things, but it wasn't really like it was real, right? It was like I kind of thought I was feeling things in the room, but I hadn't formalized it. And so this was so intense. I said, does anybody's stomach hurt? I'm just curious. And someone raised their hand. And it turned out that that person was sitting there debating whether to share. They had something that had come up over lunch and they really wanted to talk about it, but they were nervous. And so we ended up diving into that. And what that person brought to the group shifted the energy of the whole room. That's what I call sensation magic. It's when you're feeling in your physical body what someone else is feeling. Who knows that they have this? That's part of your magic. Okay, I see you, Gail. Yeah, and Elizabeth, beautiful. Another example, have you ever had a situation where you're talking with a client, or they're talking to you, they're explaining something or sharing something, and you're trying to follow what they're saying, but you just can't? It's like you're working really hard to hear them, but for whatever reason, the energy of what they're saying is so in conflict with the words that you can't follow. Has anybody ever had this experience? Okay, I see you, Gail. So if that's you, you might be what I call vibration magic. So what you're actually picking up as a truth is the energy of what they're saying as opposed to the words. So this has happened for me quite a bit, where if I find myself working extra hard to figure out what someone means, usually it means their vibration is in the way of their words. And so rather than continuing to double down on working harder to understand, I've learned to trust that that's my magic. And to be able to say, okay, hold on, let's back up. I know you're saying things and I really want to follow you and I really want to get this, but right now all I can feel is this energy, and this is what I'm noticing. And that might be the thing. That's exactly what your people need to hear. So traditional thinking would be, I have to work harder, I have to listen, I have to follow the linear train of thought to help my client or to look good or sound good. But what if your magic is actually there in service of you? Whether it is you're feeling it in your body, sensation magic, you're picking up the vibration. I've had clients who like literally see colors or get words pop in that seem unrelated and don't make any sense. And the more we cultivate this, the more often it happens. And what I've found over time is the more I play here, right? The more that when it's appropriate, when someone's committed and they're there for it, right? The more valuable the work is and the easier it is, because I'm not fighting against this hidden truth with my client, right? I'm not trying to work harder than them because this is here. So there's 6 types of magic. So I talked about sensation and vibration. There's also expansion, which I see Lisa is expansion magic. There's expression, which is really channeling the information. There is recognition, which is seeing patterns and making connections and doing that really automatically. Naomi, thank you. And compassion magic, which is healing with your heart and your pure non-judgment, pure unconditional acceptance, which, by the way, I feel like we need the most of at this time going forward. So I'm going to ask you one more question, which is, had you write down, if you could solve something using your magic, if you could trust the knowing, if you could trust what's there, not the practical, logical, but the what's really there in your magic, how could leaning more on your magic actually solve that business problem? So if it's working harder, right? If you've been working harder, how might actually leaning back and letting your truth come forward, maybe for you as an entrepreneur in the way you run your business, or maybe it's with your clients, right? Maybe you're trying to figure out what is the offer that's going to earn me the income that I want. Maybe including transformation as part of the offer is the way to do that. So, Divya, I'm going to pause here. I don't know if you want to take any sharing or questions. Did anybody see that this has helped them see a little bit different angle on your business problem? Just curious. Okay. Sit with it. Let me know. Divya, let me know if you want to take any sharing. And I am in the Ladies Power Lunch Facebook group. So if you want to share with me privately, feel free to do that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Darla. Who got value from that? Just type yes in the chat. And of course, we can continue this conversation over in the Ladies Power Lunch Facebook group. I did a thing, y'all. I actually shared the keynote over in the Ladies Power Lunch group because I thought it was so important that even though not everybody in the group got a chance to get a ticket to come to Summit, I just felt like it was important enough for us to share this with everybody, at least to give everybody access to this particular presentation, because we all need to be showing up in our magic, in our business, so that we can do the best for our clients. Thank you so much, Darla. I know you have
Thanks, Divya.
Really gone above and beyond to make yourself available to be with us here today, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to hearing from Laura.
Awesome. So